Welcome to the Word of Gabb podcast. Hi there, it's Gabb. I'm your multi-passionate friend accompanying you as we dive into adulting. In this podcast, I will be sharing life lessons, tips, and stories to make you feel that you're never alone. So are you ready for some real talk? Let's get started. Hello. Grabe, it's been a while. And grabe rin yung pagod ko. And just a quick backstory, I went to Hong Kong with a friend and then Baguio with my family. So there's been a lot of walkathons. And I got sick for like a week after the Hong Kong trip because, that was very exhausting. We were walking like 35,000 steps a day. Yes, as in, ang pahinga na lang namin would be the tulog and kain, if kakain kami ng meals. So, yeah. Anywho, since there's been a lot that has happened, it would have been hard for me to get back into the groove of working. But thanks to the systems I've developed since I started working from home, it's easier for me to get into the zone. This is why I'm creating this episode. Shout out to my fellow Toastmaster, Nikki, who asked me about my own system and how I built it so that I could manage pretty much everything I'm doing with my life. And I'm going to share everything to you, my listener. So before that, I just want to announce that I will be doing an Instagram live guesting on October 11, Friday at 7 a.m. Philippine time. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but if you're listening to this the moment I publish it, I hope you can make it. I will be chatting with Annika, a happiness coach and a certified life coach that I met on Threads. Grabe, no? Talk about the power of social media. Anyway, join us if you can, but if not, I'll also be publishing the episode here on my podcast. I hope it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about all things boundaries. Anyway, going back to the episode. If this is the first episode you've listened to, I'm Gabb, and I've been working from home for almost 4 years now. And today, I will share how I've been doing it, how I've been managing pretty much everything. Not just work, but also the other aspects in my life. So, I'm not going to go into detail about my work from home setup because I've already talked about that in my previous episode, which you could check maybe after this. Today, we will be focusing on building systems within work and life in general. So before we get to it, please prepare a piece of paper or notes, just something you can use to take note of some tips, questions, and some guides that I'll be sharing with you. So, okay ka na? Tara! So keep in mind that as we do this, there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to systems building. And you can also alter this if something big happens in your life. So this is not set to stone. There will be 5 steps on how you could start building your own system, and I'll be sharing them with you. So number 1 is to create a priority and needs list. So for us to build a system, we need to know what do we want and what do we need. The difference between the need and want can be blurry sometimes, so let's define them. A need is something that is necessary to do something. For example, we need food to function throughout the day. We also need to sleep properly and have quality sleep to make our brains function. On the other hand, a want is something we don't necessarily have to have. For example, I want all things pink. Even my keyboard and mouse, I want it to be pink. That's not a need per se. It's just more of a preference because any other mouse and keyboard will have the same function. I just want the pink ones for, arte lang, ganun. Bakit ba? Sometimes, our needs and wants coincide. And, ang ganda nun, diba? At least masaya ka while doing something you need. But now, let me guide you on how you could build your priority and needs list. So, I asked you to get a piece of paper, right? So, kung hindi ka sumunod, you might have to visualize everything and then maybe write it down later. So, first step is to create a table with 4 columns. Label each column as commitment, nature, actions, and then the last column would be need/want. Okay. So for the first column, jot down your commitments. What are the things you need to be doing? For example, I am committed to work, personal life, and personal growth. So what would be those for you? Space them out because you will be writing a lot of details per commitment or per row. So make sure there's a lot of space in between those items. After that, let's look at the nature column. For each commitment you've written down, put the nature of the commitment, meaning what does it entail? What are the details you need to know about that commitment? I will give you some questions to answer and some of my answers as samples as well, so you will be guided through this exercise. Number 1, that in my commitment was work, right? So the question there is, what am I responsible for? And how focused do I need to be efficient and productive at work? So in my line of work, the answer to that is I need to make sure that things are working properly. My teammates are working efficiently and my clients are happy. With that, I need to be focused. I can't be sabaw at work because jobs are at stake. Second commitment is my personal life. What makes me happy outside work? What feeds my soul? I'm happy when I work on my personal development. That's why I love being part of Toastmasters. It challenges my brain to think outside of work. I also love going out and traveling with friends and family. It makes me happy to build memories with them while I have the time and energy to do so. And then, lastly would be the healthy lifestyle. So how do I prioritize myself? I know I need rest. So how do I do that without the guilt? That's another topic for another episode. The guilt when resting, right? So I need days where I have a blank to-do list, meaning I have blank days, as I call it. I tune into what I want to do on that day, and I can randomly go out and have a solo date, or I can stay at home and watch a movie. Everything goes. And under this commitment would also be eating healthy and moving more. So whatever commitment you have written down, make sure to add all the necessary details as it will help you fill in the next column. So now that you have all those commitments and the details, we proceed to the third column, which is actions. This is a place wherein you're gonna write down what are the actionable steps you need to take for these commitments. So number 1, work. Since I know that I need to be focused, I need to have quality sleep, have a conducive and undisturbed workspace, and be caffeinated. Those are the actions I need to do so I could function properly at work. In my personal life, as an extrovert, I love going out, so I need to make plans with the people that fuels me. Moreover, I need to plan ahead for my Toastmaster speeches and meetings. Other than that, reading more books and taking courses would be amazing too. Healthy lifestyle. Some of the steps I need to take for me to achieve my goal for this commitment is to work out more and to practice meal preparation. It takes a whole day in my weekend, so I really need to schedule that in. Of course, I need to do chores, as a clean workspace is a must for me to function without my mom getting mad at me. I mean, I would love to have a blank day at least once a month, and also pamper days are important for me to feel rejuvenated and relaxed. As many actions as you want, add it all in there. You can even pause this podcast so you'd have, more time to think. It would help if you already have a usual routine that you already know you're doing, even if it's not written down. This is more so like a formality of, writing it and having a visual for it. So just write down all the things that you do for each commitment. And then for the last column, once all the actions are laid out, classify them if it's a need or a want. An example would be from my personal life. I want to read more books and courses. Is it a need or is it a want? Like right now, it's more so a want because I am getting like other information from other aspects of my life, but I would want to do it. So just note down which ones are a need and a want. So my list is short, mainly because I don't want to make this podcast super long. But you could have yours as detailed as you want. Of course, now that you have your priority and needs list, let's go with your no-no zones or your non-negotiables. Of course, there will be non-negotiables for each of us because these are habits or actions that needs to happen no matter what. It varies depending on the person and the lifestyle they're living. So, for example, in my case, I like getting pampered. And going through a month with no massage day is a big no-no for me. You have to take those into account. Remember that in this system making, we have to make sure that you are taken care of because this is for you. And in this part, I encourage you to think about or write your non-negotiables. And to help you understand it better, here are some of mine. Number 1 would be pamper days. I need my monthly trip to the salon and spa. It's my way of saying that with all the hustle and bustle throughout the month, there's always a day for me and my kaartehan. Is it a need? For most people, not really, but for me, it is. Because I get such bad tension headaches and back pains, so mama needs massages frequently. My next non-negotiable is quality sleep and moving my body or working out. I have to make sure that I get the right amount and quality of sleep because as a sakitin girly, I've noticed that when I'm sleep deprived, that's when brain fog becomes more prominent as well as weakening of my immune system, resulting to me getting sick more often. So working out or moving around also helps me relieve the tension on my back and release those happy hormones that I so need. It can be as simple as doing a 15-minute yoga routine in the middle of meetings or walking to somewhere. Even shopping is my way of moving around. I like walking around the mall even if I don't have to buy anything because it gets me moving and my eyes are, entertained. My brain is stimulated. I don't feel the pain. I only feel the pain on my legs and feet when I get home, but I don't know. It just makes me so happy to be in the mall and just looking at stuff. Even museums. I actually like museums as well. So my last but not the least non-negotiable is my North Star. Being a good person. Sounds cheesy because it is, but in whatever I do, I have to always ask if it's what a good person will do. You can go to episode 31, The Art of Self-Improvement, Discovering the Power of Your Best Self, because I talked all about how I found my North Star. If you haven't found yours, please listen to that episode. Now that you have your guide, needs, wants, non-negotiables, we can now talk about the technicality of building a system. How are we going to ensure that we are optimizing each day? So if you're new to building whatever routine or system you have, you can try these. So we have 5. I'm going to share with you 5 methods. Number 1 is time blocking. So make sure to create blocks of time for specific tasks like work, meetings, exercise, personal time, and stick to them as much as possible. So Google Calendar is my best friend here, and I could program it to set reminders periodically so I know how much time I have left for each block. The next technique or the next method would be the Pomodoro technique. I'm not sure if you've heard about this, but I think this blew up sometime last year when everybody wants to be productive or whatever. Anyway, the Pomodoro technique is wherein you focus in bursts, like in short times. Like, for example, 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and then you follow it with short breaks. It helps with focus and keeps mental fatigue at bay. I don't do this as I like to do things based on feel, and sometimes when I'm already in the mood to do something, I don't want any distractions, like when I hyper focus. So I have 2 modes. I hyper focus, and then the other mode would be jumping from one task to another. And that works for me because that's how my brain works. But for others, jumping too frequently with tasks or having those breaks every 25 or 15 minutes would be quite disruptive. So let me know if this technique works for you or whatever method you've tried so far that seems to be effective. But for me, the Pomodoro technique is really not my thing. Next would be the Eisenhower Matrix. This is where you can prioritize tasks based on urgency and importance to avoid getting overwhelmed by the less meaningful tasks. So for you to do this, you would need to write it down, like have a table with 4 grids. So you label the columns as urgent and then not urgent. So yun yung sa taas. And then sa gilid naman for the rows would be important, and then the next part is not important. So you will have 4 boxes. Urgent, important, urgent, not important, not urgent, important, and not urgent, not important. So what are those boxes for? Top prio would be urgent, important box. You need to accomplish whatever you write in there ASAP, like as soon as possible, because the deadline is crucial and it's very important. Next would be urgent, not important box, which are the tasks that are needed to be done through delegation. This means you don't necessarily need to do it and someone else can do it for you. It is urgent but not that important that they need your expertise to do it. An example on this would be booking a flight or a trip to the dentist, stuff like that. Next is the not urgent important box. So, no deadline, but it's a step towards the goals that you have in your life. You can schedule these tasks on slow days or when you have days wherein you have extra energy. The last box is not urgent, not important. So, bakit siya nandun, B? Ba't mo pinaproblema yung sarili mo? These are the tasks that you don't need to do. Remove it. Take it out of your system, take it out of your routine. Wala siyang dulot sa'yo. The next method would be the 2-minute rule. If a task will take 2 minutes or less to do it immediately to avoid clutter and procrastination. So, simplest example is throwing away trash and washing the dishes. I know, I'm sorry, Mom. I usually procrastinate washing the dishes. I'm gonna try the 2-minute rule more. Last would be habit stacking. So this is where you link new habits to established routines. So, an example would be fixing my bed right after I go to the bathroom to wash my face and pee when I wake up. Like, the trip to the bathroom is already a routine for me. Like, it's a mindless task, and I want to attach something else that I want to be a habit to that, which is fixing my bed. And I've been successfully doing it, so yeah. If you were to ask me which of these 5 methods I've been doing, in my case, I practice time blocking, the 2-minute rules, most of the time, not just, I just really don't like washing dishes. Anyway, and then habit stacking. I'm slowly incorporating the Eisenhower Matrix by prioritizing meaningful tasks more, but I just find it kind of tedious to write it all down and overwhelming. I just go through it by feel. Unless there's like a lot to do, then I have to really write it down. On top of those methods, I like using Google Calendar and Google Tasks to organize everything because I like the reminder feature and then the recurring task feature. I don't need to remember dates as much anymore because I could just look at my calendar. But of course, I remember the important ones. It's just that when there are, special events, I could just look at my calendar and my Google Tasks, or that's my to-do list because I like ticking off those circles. Anyway, going back, it can be hard to know which ones are more important than others in terms of prioritization of tasks. So that's why we wrote down your needs, wants, and non-negotiables, right? That will be your guide whenever you feel stuck or overwhelmed with like a gajillion things to do. Number 4 is the flexibility in structure. Wow. So once you've found a system that works for you, remember to factor in energy, not just time. We may all have 24 hours every day, but our energy certainly isn't at 100% every day. The best example I could think of is when I have my period, and in those days of pain, I could only have 70% of energy, max. And if work is heavy during those days, that could easily take 50% of my energy. So the remaining would be used for the normal routine stuff like taking a bath, preparing meals, and some chores. And yes, those take energy from us as well. Yes, I may have the time to do more, but I can't because I don't have the energy. Especially when we're in pain or when we're sick, our energies deplete faster because most of our energy would be going to healing and, trying to feel better. That's why when you do time blocking or when you're scheduling a routine or writing your to-dos, there should always be room for unexpected factors. So another example for like an unexpected thing would be, what if you have this really your best friend who lives far away from you and asked you if you could, grab a bite or go to a nearby cafe just quickly, and you wouldn't be able to do that for like in the next few months. I think you would want to be with your friend, right? So that's the beauty of having a flexible routine or a flexible structure, is because you can actually make the pieces move around and then add something that's more important for you. And then lastly is the routine assessment and re-strategize. Once you've found the right system for you, reassess every 3 months or as often as needed. I recommend having a quarterly assessment since a lot can happen within that time frame, and at the same time, that's already enough time for you to note down your patterns and habits For example, you've noticed that when you go out too late on the weekends, you have no energy until Tuesday. So your Mondays are like glitch days. And this has been proven within that quarter. You can now re-strategize and then think about what needs to be done. So the question there is, do you really need to stay out too late on weekends? Because if yes, then adjust your tasks for Mondays to be light and breezy. If not, then set boundaries for yourself that you will only be out until 11 p.m. on a Sunday. So you will have enough time to sleep. It's a matter of knowing who you are and what makes you tick. So those are the 5 steps on how you can start building your own system and make those 24 hours a day work for you. Yeah. So that's it for the 5 steps on how you can build your own system and make those 24 hours a day work for you. I couldn't emphasize how much it helped me be more mindful with the time I'm spending on unnecessary things like watching reels and TikToks. Funny enough, I still allow myself some time for those unimportant tasks at most an hour a day because, that's kind of how I distress. And that's okay. I need to have that blocked in my calendar. Anyway, aside from the 5 steps, I have some nuggets of wisdom or tips for you as you find and build your system. And this section is usually called Gamay ni Gabb, a section in my podcast where I will share quick tips based on the podcast topic. So for today, I only have 3. So the first Gamay ni Gabb is, know what makes you tick. Be honest on what you need and want because the key to building your system and an effective system is self-awareness. Number 2, invest on yourself. Remember, how are you going to pour from an empty cup? And then last would be, time is the most important resource that you have. Nobody can turn back time. Once it's spent, it's gone forever. So make sure to use your time on what's important. That's it for today's episode. I hope I helped you gain some clarity on how you can build your own system. I wouldn't say it would be a routine because I don't usually stick to it. Like, it's different each week. Because it's been a habit for me to write down everything that I need to do within the week every Monday. So I have to plan it. And then every start of the month, I also have to plan the whole month ahead. So routines are pretty much, I think it's too strict for me. I want to say system because it's more amenable. Like, I could change whatever I want, whenever I want. Because I'm that type of person, and sticking to a routine really is not beneficial for me. So I hope this helps you find your groove, and let me know which of these methods, or if you have any questions, if there are things that are effective for you that you want to share with other people. I would really appreciate any type of engagement. And if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, things that you want to learn about, please reach out on my Instagram at the Word of Gabb podcast, and on Facebook, Word of Gabb podcast as well. So I will see you again tomorrow if you can listen to this by October 10th. Because October 11th, I will be guesting in an Instagram Live at 7 a.m. I know it's so early. I'm not an early bird, but that's the only time available. So yes, thank you for listening, and I hope you have an amazing, amazing day. See you again next time. Bye! Thank you for listening to the Word of Gabb podcast. If you like this episode, please like and follow on Spotify and share it on your socials. Feel free to tag me at Word of Gabb podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And before I leave, I just want to remind you that if someone tries to dim your light, blind them. Talk soon. Bye.